Aaron and Bruce for hosting us and allowing us to use our beautiful home. And thank you all so much for being here. There is one guiding principle that has stuck with me at every step in my life. Whatever you do unto the least of these, my brother and sister, you do unto me. As I'm sure many of you guys know, my name is Dr. Neil Manimala, and the steps in my life that verse in Scripture has helped guide me have been as a medical doctor who serves out in East and South County, to being a dad to a now 4-month-old daughter, who unfortunately couldn't make it here today, but is at home sleeping. And now as your county-wide candidate for the county commission here in Hillsborough County, District 5, with our election on November 3rd of 2026. I'm running because I believe that the drive for human dignity has got to be the heartbeat of our politics. And right now, the direction that our nation and our state, and certainly here on a local level, has taken has not been reflective of that need. I've had a lot of folks ask me, Neil, what exactly does the county commission do? And it's okay if you're in this space right now and you don't know it, because by design, it's a very opaque process, and it's harder to get that information now than it was many, many years ago. What our county commission is our local government here in Hillsborough County. It's a board of 7 people who we elect to oversee a budget this year of more than $12 billion. That's billion with a B, not an M. We make decisions related to land use, where and how we're able to build homes and commercial and industry. That determines whether we're packed like sardines in subdivisions that are serviced by a 2-lane road, or whether we have walkable communities that have infrastructure that meets growth. It also, the converse of that is, we also decide how we protect the environment, right? Whether or not we preserve green space, or we overbuild and we get rid of it, and we ensure that areas flood that may have otherwise been prevented. We make decisions related to traffic congestion and whether or not there's transit options that are available in our county and certainly in our region as a whole. I learned to drive on State Road 60 out in Brandon and Valrico, and I like to joke, it's actually kind of true, that learning to drive there means I can drive anywhere, including India. And it's a sad reflection of affairs when you're caught in an hour of gridlock traffic every day getting from point A to point B. We make decisions on things like healthcare, childcare, and so much of what affects your day-to-day, which is why it's honestly very, very ironic that so often we don't know what's going on with the county commission. And so when I think about my life story, a story that has been driven by that drive for dignity, it kind of makes a lot of sense that we think about every single resident in Hillsborough County, every single constituent, no matter what party you're a part of, wanting to be represented on that county commission is, what makes complete and total sense. My life story is one in which my parents came to this country from South India, both growing up on farms. My mom was one of 10 siblings. They didn't have much in their suitcase besides faith and the American dream. And they came through Chicago, which is where I was born, and I got a lot of cousins and uncles and aunts up there. But we moved down here in part because they were fed up with the cold, and they believed in something here in Florida. And we grew up in Valrico, product of a very tolerant community. Grew up going to Nativity Catholic Church, where first learned whatever you do on the least of these, my brother and sister, you do unto me. And I was blessed to be able to go to the public schools there. Ended up going to USF for college, and ultimately, go Bulls, and medical school. And I kind of learned early on in my career that healthcare cannot be extricated from politics. As I went through surgical residency training, and I ended up becoming a urologist who serves in the very community that helped raise me in Valrico, I realized that when I have a patient who has a kidney stone who needs a life-altering surgery, but they can't even make it to their appointment because they missed their bus in South County by 5 minutes and their whole day is derailed. because we only have a bus that runs once an hour in South County. Or whenever I have a patient who has to decide between paying for their medications or paying for their groceries, paying for, seeing me in the office versus being able to pay for their groceries. We have fundamental questions of dignity that need to be answered. And when we think about our politics right now, DC is mired in the culture wars. Tallahassee is occupied in partisan bickering. Here at a local level, we got to protect our own people. And so when we think about the things that we are really excited about in the next 4 years on the county commission, we're going to be pushing hard for transit. An expansion of transit options is critical. Even if you are dead set on staying in your car, it's a benefit to everyone to ensure we have less cars on the road. That means that we have to take heart, which is our public transit agency here in Hillsborough County, which is currently the most underfunded public transit agency per capita in the entire nation, and actually make sure that we give it some strength and we fuel it, right? Part of that involves making sure we bring in federal grant money to ensure that we are doing more than just adding a few buses every 5-10 years, right? But some parts of it involve bringing back the routes that we used to have that would have serviced East and South County and some other parts of the county that currently have wait times of up to an hour and don't have reliable routes. We want to lay the foundation for what light rail in our area can look like, but in order to do that, we have to have the skeleton which our public transit agency can provide. I do want to bring back some old plans that were slashed on ideological grounds to use our waterways. There was a plan that we were just one vote away from putting into fruition that would have created a ferry that would have connected Gibsonton to McDill Air Force Base. That would have taken 2,000 cars off the road overnight and turned I-75 from the parking lot it is right now during rush hour to something that people can actually use to be able to get from point A to point B. We also are going to be very, very keen on making sure that healthcare is a priority that we can address on a local level. We have currently something called the Hillsborough County Healthcare Plan, which serves people right now who in any other county would not have healthcare coverage or health insurance. Being able to ensure that they see a primary care specialist, mental health care doctor, even a dentist, ensures that our ERs are not as crowded as they are right now. Right now the plan serves about 19,000 people, but as more and more people come off their insurance plans with the ACA subsidies expiring and all the things that are happening on a national level occurring right now, we need to be sure that here on a local level we provide a safety net. There are some folks who say that it's a waste of taxpayer dollars, but I serve on the board that oversees that plan, and every dollar put into that plan brings back on a conservative estimate at least $1.50 for the Hillsborough County taxpayer. And beyond that, it's just the right thing to do. We want to address issues of mental health care deserts in our county and maternity health care deserts in our county as well, and we have plans to be able to do that. But in order to do that, we got to get the right people in. And so in thinking about our platform, we also, from a wider scale of things, think about who makes the decisions in county center, who has their thumb on the scale of power. As I mentioned, county commission is responsible for issues of land use, decisions related to environmental protection versus overdevelopment. And right now, big developers have a thumb on the scale in county center. And we need to do everything we can to ensure that we act fairly when any land use decisions are being made. I have been very fortunate to been able to decline any big developer dollars in this race, and we're going to continue to do that as we move forward because, listen, I do think right now, it's the developer and not the taxpayer who should be paying for, those extra roads and the lights and the pipes and, truly the other infrastructure that's important whenever development comes up. There's something called impact fees, which right now are pretty low in Hillsborough County, and we want to do everything we can to ensure that they're fairly balanced, such that the taxpayer doesn't take too much of that burden. A lot of people have talked about issues of AI data centers, and there's going to be some point in which that conversation is going to come up for the Hillsborough County Commission very soon, and it's important that we have folks who are able to kind of weigh the data, weigh the evidence kind of fairly, and be able to make a decision that's in line with the will of the Hillsborough County voter. I know a lot of y'all might be thinking, Neil, a lot of that sounds good, be able to stand up for the common person and push back against special interests and fight for transit options, make sure our county is better connected and healthier, more focused on dignity. But haven't you seen the news, right? All the stuff that's happening nationally and internationally, the darkness that's enveloped our politics, and the very good reasons why a lot of folks feel apathetic about the situation we're in right now politically. I can tell you that I've certainly felt that powerlessness as I watched the election results in November, and I've seen votes happen about fluoride in the water and our state preempting every single decision that's being made on a local level. I mean, it's easy to feel powerless. But let me tell you where I derive my power. It is this person right here. This is my 4-month-old daughter, Miriam. When I first heard her heartbeat at Rachel's ultrasound appointment, when I first felt her little finger wrap around my hand at one of our 2 a.m. daddy-daughter conferences, I knew that this election was about more than just one budget cycle or one 4-year term on the county commission. This election is about what this county is going to look like 35 years from now when my daughter Miriam is my age. Is this going to be a place where she can thrive and she can choose to raise a family of her own and have more opportunities than what we had when we came here as children of immigrants? Or is this going to be one where she has to leave because we're no longer affordable and there's no longer an opportunity for dignity for every single person who lives in this county? I think all of us in this room know how we want to answer that question. We have dreams and a vision for what this reality looks like. But in order to make that reality happen, we have to put one step forward, one foot in front of the other, and be able to intentionally make that a reality. And so, I appreciate you guys being here today in support of this campaign. What I ask for is not just your votes come November. I ask for your support right now. And that can take many different forms, from donating and to our campaign as we're continuing to fundraise a county-wide campaign in a county that's bigger than 12 states. We have almost 1.6 million people in our county, and we want to be able to reach every single person as effectively as possible. It can also mean volunteering for our campaign too, and especially if certainly if you cannot donate and you cannot contribute to our campaign and you have the time to be able to donate, we would appreciate that contribution as well, because we're canvassing and knocking on doors every single part of this county, and we started kind of doing that a little bit more in a coordinated fashion, within the last few months, having conversations anywhere and everywhere possible. But even if it's a matter of holding up yard signs, putting them in your community, right, and talking to your neighbors, right, and hosting a meet and greet like this, certainly Aaron and Bruce, you know how to host a party, but even if you've never hosted a party before, never hosted a fundraiser, we need that support, because let's face it, even if many of us in this room are Democrat or independent, right? We have a group of 7 or 8 Democrats or independents. There could be 2 or 3 Republicans in that room too. And that's how we build a coalition that wins, because when it comes down to it, these questions of dignity, these questions of flooding, these questions of crime, these questions of fire and disease, healthcare issues, they don't care who you voted for in 2024, right? That's what links us together here on the local level, and being sure that our county government, our local government, politics in general reflects the people that it's meant to serve is near and dear to my heart. And so I appreciate y'all's attention, your support, and if you're interested at all in furthering that conversation and supporting us, we have our volunteers in the back over there. We would love to kind of follow up with you and continue some conversations.
And the QR codes on
yes,
on every vehicle,
in
case you didn't already.
So thank you guys again for your time and attention, and I look forward to having further conversations. I'll be here until you kick me out.
Thank you.
Thank you guys, and God bless you.